In 2024, the reps I recruited generated over $36 million in commissions, and I did it 100% remotely. My name is Dylan Reeve, founder of Headhunt Talent Group. When it comes to building and scaling a remote sales team, there are so many things that honestly go into it. This video would be 3.5 hours long if I went over everything, and that's probably not even enough time. However, I'm going to try and boil it down to just the 3 most important things that I have seen when it comes to building and scaling a remote sales team. And the first thing is going to start off with who we're actually hiring, who we're putting on this sales team. And I've mentioned this 1,000 times probably, but I'll mention it again. When it comes to building a sales team, it is a recruiting business. If you don't have the highest quality talent in your vehicle, you are going to have a lot harder time. Forgetting all of that, talking about just the importance with building a remote sales team, well, there are a couple key things that we want to acknowledge here. One, if we're doing things virtually or remotely, that gives us access to the top candidates across the entire world. Number 2, if we are accessing candidates across the entire world, we can bet that our competitors are as well. So, this presents either a massive problem or a massive opportunity, because the discrepancy in remote sales team performance versus in-person sales team performance has got to be 100-to-1, probably much larger. And that is because the access to the talent pool. If you are building a sales team in Tulum, where I'm at right now, I don't know what the population is, but I can tell you it's not very high. It's probably less than 100,000 for sure. Now, if I were building a sales team in the entire world, my population would be 7 billion. So I have a drastically larger pool of candidates that I can work with, meaning that the top 1% of candidates that I can generate across the world on average is going to be significantly better than the top 1% of candidates I can generate in Tulum. That is why the discrepancy between a very poor performing remote sales team and a very high performing remote sales team is so large. First and foremost, we got to get the right people in the vehicle. Now, I make literally thousands of videos behind this. This is what I do. This is how I make my living, is I help people actually acquire the right talent. So if I were to just give you a couple key steps, I would say make sure that you prove this person has what it takes in order to make the most out of your vehicle, whether that's work ethic, whether that's previous experience, whatever. You need to identify who is the most likely to bring you the most amount of money and be the most successful, and ensure that you are only hiring people that can live up to those things. So whether you have to test them before you hire them, I really don't care. Whatever it is, you need to figure it out before you hire them, because if you don't, then you are going to be creating a ton of waste and losing a ton of money. Figure it out however you can. There's 100 different ways to do it. Get creative. Stop being lazy. So once you actually are putting the right people in your sales team, let's talk about the next most important thing, which is actually the vehicle. Once you are testing people and you actually know that, okay, this person has what it takes to be successful, you need to know whether or not they're going to actually apply it to your vehicle. And the only way that I've seen to predictably and really reliably do that is to have such a large discrepancy between the amount of value that you are offering them versus what they feel like they're giving you. So let me give you an example. If I'm in car sales, I'm working 60 hours a week, making $100,000 a year, and someone's offering me a role in, some other commission-only sales, different industry, whatever. Well, if I were to offer this person, hey, I'll match that $100,000 per year as long as you give me that same work ethic in the form of, a draw, a commission guarantee, whatever you want, plus I'll give you the opportunity to make 10 times the amount of money that you're making now. Well, that is an offer that's too good to say no to. Worst case scenario, I make what I make now, Best case scenario, I'm making 10 times more. Who wouldn't do that? If you do that consistently, then the odds that you are going to succeed in bringing on the right talent is you'll do better than 99% of people out there. Once you're confident you're bringing the right people in, the next really important thing in building and scaling a remote sales team is the vehicle itself. So what are we having the reps sell? And this is super important because let's say that you put someone in a super low leverage sales opportunity. The average commission is $50. The leads that are being generated are super unqualified, or they are just super low intent. Maybe they didn't even opt in. Think about the worst possible opportunity. And then you take the best possible opportunity. This person is on inbound calls that are extremely qualified. The average ticket is hundreds of thousands of dollars, and they're able to make multiple sales all day. If you put the best possible salesperson in the first vehicle, in the worst possible salesperson in the second vehicle, you're going to be at a pretty even match. I'd honestly probably give it to the worst sales rep. And that's going back to kind of the economics of business and what Hormozy preaches with your value proposition. Because if you have just an insane value proposition where you are able to drastically outspend and outcompete your competition, then it is going to make it 1,000 times easier to bring in successful salespeople, because your vehicle is just that much better, and your opportunity, your offer is much better. It's much more sellable, and they're able to make a higher income just literally because of like the logistics of what you're offering. Now, in order to create a better vehicle, a better opportunity for sales reps, there's two ways to do it. One, you've got your consumer-facing value proposition. So this is what I was really emphasizing there. And that I'll leave up to Hormozy. I'm not going to talk about that. He's got hundreds of videos. He's got books. He's got everything that you could think of talking about consumer value propositions, and he's way better at it than me. So go watch him. The second part there are employee value propositions, and thinking about all the problems that a employee, a rep, whatever talent is going to have when it comes to achieving their goals and dreams. Because if you solve all of those problems, then your value that you are providing them outside of just the actual vehicle in and of itself is drastically higher than anyone else. And that's because most people don't take the additional effort to really take care of their employees like they do their customers, those that do take care of their customers. Now, again, the same concepts from Hormozy apply to building your employee value proposition, but they are small differences, and I have videos on employee value propositions, so I'd recommend you go to that if you want more detail. But the concept is you make them an offer that is too good to say no to. Again, you provide them drastically more value than they feel like they're giving you. Those are the two ways you can improve your vehicle. The last thing when it comes to building and scaling a remote commission-only sales team is that you set standards and that you have engagement. If you don't maintain standards and you don't maintain some form of community, it can have to be like in-person events. I would strongly suggest in-person events, because there's nothing else that is going to achieve that same level of connection. But if you can't financially or for whatever reason, then I would always suggest that you have some layer of community, whether it's group chats, whether it's leaderboards, whatever. If you are missing the community, even if you hold standards, people are typically going to eventually leave. And that's just because sales, entrepreneurship is a lonely game. It is something where you don't have tons of necessarily positive interactions all day, every day. Sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. However, if you don't have that sense of community to fall back on, or people that you can rely on, then it is going to make it significantly more difficult to endure the ups and downs that are going to come with not even just entrepreneurship, but just doing something that is a little bit more independent, like any contract work or sales or anything like that. The other part there, though, is standards. And if you are too soft on people, if you don't hold people to the highest version of themselves and what they can become, then they're going to find someone eventually who does, and that person is going to take them from you. Now, it's not just important because of like losing this immediate person, but you're doing much more than that. You're losing out on your future. You're losing out on the people that see that kind of behavior, see you not holding them accountable, and decide that that's not the type of leader that they want. So whether they ghost you, whether they see it online, whatever the circumstance is, that is something that is going to turn people off. People like to be held accountable. People like to be held to the standard that they know they can become, sometimes even before they know they can become it. So those would be the three things that I would say are going to get you 90% of the results that we have been able to achieve. Now, obviously, like, results are not guaranteed, but we have done nothing crazy. We have done nothing out of the ordinary compared to other people building and scaling remote sales teams. We just did those three things at an extremely high level.